Hey guys, I just found the key to my house, and now I can... Oh man. Well, that's gone forever. There's no way I'm going to be able to find that key. Unless... So we're going to make an electromagnet. There are three main components to an electromagnet. A metal shaft that can be magnetized, wire, and a voltage source. And it's lucky for us that I just so happen to find a bunch of housing wire. And it's also lucky for us that I know how to strip wire. I learned from a master electrician. Anyway, you can use something like a screw or a nail for an electromagnet as long as it can be magnetized. And we're looking for a magnet to find our key, and see, magnetizes, so we can use this to make our magnet. But I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use this linear shaft. It can be magnetized. It'll work. And the last thing we're going to need is a voltage source. I'm going to use this 9-volt. Let's see what happens. Here is me attempting to try to separate these wires from their bundle so I can strip them to make our electromagnetic coils. Alright, now that we've got all that wire stripped, I'm only gonna need one of these. So I'm gonna take this one. Oh, I said I learned from a master electrician. I'm not dealing with that. Anyway, while he wraps the coils around the iron rod in the background, I'm going to explain how an electromagnet works. When electric current flows through a wire, it creates a magnetic field around it. But if we coil more wire around an iron core, like a rod or a nail, it concentrates that field, making it strong enough to lift objects. The strength of an electromagnet depends on three factors: the amount of current, the amount of coils, and the core material. The higher the current, the stronger the magnet. The more coils, the stronger the magnet. And a core material that is magnetic, like pure iron, will make a stronger magnet. But the most interesting part about an electric magnet is if you turn off the current, it will no longer function as a magnet. It goes back to being a normal iron rod, as we will see very soon. Now that we got our electromagnet done, we're going to want to pick a battery. I have 3 possible 9-volt batteries here. I'm going to check the voltage of them with my handy dandy little multimeter. With my terminals backwards. All right. We can see that this first one reads about 9.55 volts. That's pretty good. This next one reads about 9.61 volts. That's pretty good. And our final one reads 8.76 volts. So the best option is to go with one of these two. I'm going to try out this one, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to take my battery here. I'm going to loop this end. I'm going to loop that wire around it. Attach it like that, so then I only have to worry about if it'll stay. All right, so this means I only have to worry about this one terminal over here to create my magnet. All right, let's see what happens. Since my key could be anywhere, whenever I touch this terminal to complete my circuit, I'm gonna get my electromagnet, and we're gonna see if I can find my key. Oh, and would you look at that? Magnet came off the terminal. Let's try that again. I've made a modification to our magnet, so now I have this terminal in taped up so it won't come off. Now, let's find our house key. Complete my circuit. Oh, and would you look at that? There's my house key. A magnet like this is pretty hard to find at your house. This is a pretty thick gauge of wire. This is a pretty long, solid, magnetizable metal rod. So, let's make something a little more easily done at your own home. This is a magnetizable screw. That's all it is. And this is a thinner gauge of wire. It's a lot smaller, but we should be able to just wrap it around. The tighter our coils, the stronger our magnet, and the more coils that we have, the stronger our magnet. So we're just going to want to try to get as many coils on the small surface as possible. Try to get them as tight as possible. I'm kind of just following in the grooves of the screw. There's not really much else I can do about that. Okay, now that is put together. That is what it looks like. And I've already taken the liberty of clipping both ends. So let's take our battery from before, and I'm going to hook this end up to here. Keep it there under the tape nicely. I'm going to take this end to here, and now our magnet is formed. But we can see it's quite a considerable amount weaker than the previous magnet. It can barely lift the key despite being the same battery. That's because we're using a thinner gauge of wire. We have a smaller metal core, and we have less turns of our coils. All these things are going to affect how well our magnet can actually magnetize the things. Something like this would mainly just work for paper clips, screws. Let's try it with this screw. So let's take back our end, put it back on, take this here, and we will connect it, and easily picks up this screw. Pretty good for that. It stays on pretty well even with shaking. However, there's another problem with these at-home electromagnets. This battery, while doing the job, gets extremely hot extremely fast, which, as you guessed, can be quite dangerous. But also, we've only used this magnet for a very limited amount of time. I'm going to connect it to my multimeter, and we can see we only have 8.21 volts left. I managed to use about 1.25 volts that were on this battery in maybe the span of about 2 minutes. So it does not bode well for the life of our battery. Hey guys, we found that key. Now let's get inside. Just take some minutes. Either this isn't the key to my house, or this isn't my house.